Can you share any?
No, but since you bring it up, I'm just thinking that maybe you have an idea that you'd like to share with us. I mean, I'd love to know what different ways
I'm
we
not
could.
here to play a catch-22. I know the fact of the matter is that the way our property taxes are leveled leaves Mount Vernon in an unequal state compared to other districts in this community. So if we change the funding formula, back at the state level, which is a legislative thing, it's nothing that we can do local. It has to be done through legislature. If we have that conversation, which is an argument that the regions have had, I'm pretty sure Dr. Hamilton has heard over and over again, that if we change the formula, yeah, there's an argument to be had on the other side, I guess, as well. But if we change the formula, because districts like Mount Vernon are consistently at the back end when it relates to the levying of property taxes as a way to fund education.
Right. However, some of that responsibility is the community's responsibility. So, for example, the taxes in Scarsdale are double, but the property values are 10 times higher. So you can afford more taxes when your properties are worth that much more, and you attract a certain clientele also that's willing to pay more and that has more. So there is a lot to be said about that. But I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate it. I'm just wondering if anyone, maybe Mr. Silver or maybe the superintendent, has an idea in terms of how differently can you assess, let's say, or even levy school taxes or funds if it's not property.
Yeah, I seem to recall that either it was one of the Kens, right, superintendent. One of you, aren't we part of some don't we partner up with some of the other similarly positioned school districts to lobby?
All school cities.
Yeah, right.
School
We are in a consortium that works to lobby on behalf of districts like ours who have similar needs and who are lobbying for a different kind of distribution of state aid. But California has a model where the school budget is supported entirely at the state level. And there are districts across the state that are looking to adopt that model and to see how California is funding their education. So that is one of the models that's out there. The other thing to look at, of course, is whether or not there is efficacy in providing funds based on the needs of the district as opposed to those student needs of the district as opposed to the community's ability to pay. And that would then change and impact the funding formula. But that discussion, and I think that's what the point Mr. Zamore was saying, is that has to come from our community. People writing to their legislators and really lobbying and advocating very strongly and very consistently about pressuring them to look at other models about how public education is funded and how special education is funded in particular.
And the other thing is that we do have some benefits in terms of state aid, right? For example, I believe Scarsdale probably gets 10% reimbursement on capital projects, and we get 75%. So the state does make up, for communities such as ours when they recognize the need. Even some of the education portion, just like the Mandela programs being aided at 40%, busing at 72%. The other communities don't really get that or near that. Even Yonkers, I believe, is only at 60% for their capital reimbursements, while we're at 75%. So the state does make up for some of that. But look, obviously, if there are some other models that can benefit us, I mean, we should definitely look into it. I just thought since you brought it up, maybe you had some ideas and you had done some research. Mr. Silver, you had something to say? No. No? You're done? Okay, because you're holding the mic as if you're ready to speak.
I just had one more question for the committee. Maybe this is a good opportunity, Trustee McDowell, to remind the public about the Budget Committee, what it does, and why, how people can get on the committee if they want to be one of those people. And in particular, I guess I'm curious as to what, if any, input you have from the other committees. Does any of that feed into the budget for the Education Committee, Wellness Committee, Buildings and Grounds, or whatever? Is that, like, do you get feedback from them, like, what do we want, what are we thinking for the future, and how does that fit in? I'm just curious how your process works.
As far as the other committees, no, specifically to the Buildings and Grounds Committee, we did read from the Audit Committee, understanding from the audits that we've done, and that's how the special education part came into play, that was audited through the Audit Committee. And having received that information, we said we need to look at that as it relates to the general budget. How is that impacting the general budget, and how can we begin to look at that particular line and make those adjustments? So what we did was we met with Ms. Gayon. She came and she talked about what the particular issues were, what she was currently doing to address those particular issues, and how that would change the bottom line as it relates to that particular line. As it relates to the Buildings and Grounds Committee, basically being that we're in the bonding process, moving forward with the bond, we're looking at what we're doing with the bond. So as he talked to debt refinancing, as he talks to debt refinancing and the bans that we're currently addressing, we looked at that, and they pretty much had it in scope, because we put it in place not to do the bond up front. That was an initial conversation. To go after the bans, do the bans as we continue to implement this bond process year over year, and then do the bond at the end, which saves us money.
Right.
So that's how we took those positions and arrived at the place where we were at.
And I'd just like to add, just to be clear about the process, the budget or the committee, the board committee structure is advisory. The budget is constructed at the administrative level. So it's generally not done, and nor is it advisable to be done the other way, where the committees make those recommendations into the budget. It's
That would be a lot
our
of
job
work.
to do it the reverse.
You don't want that work.
They get a big check if they do.
Okay, what do we have next? We should do the committee reports.
Unless you want to do it, it's up to you.
Yeah, we should do the committee.
All right, that concludes the superintendent's report, finally.
Okay, that's fantastic. Well, the president's report, well, yeah, we should just get everything out of the way. Just to speed it up here, as far as the president's report, and a few things that are on my mind. Number one is, just getting to my notes here. Okay, here's 4-4. All right, there's something in the air right now nationwide about the introduction of chess, especially in lower performing districts. There was a 60 Minutes report where a chess expert went into a very rural community out in Mississippi, introduced chess, and performance peaked, and they actually became one of the top 10 schools in the country. Actually, they had two grades. One was ranked 8th and one was ranked 10th in the country in terms of their chess tournament standings. I know that the Mount Vernon Public Library right now just instituted, I just received the flyer today, I'm not sure if it's public yet, but that they will be implementing chess activities over there at the library as well. One of the things that we've had some community members actually really interested in bringing a chess club into the district, and in the implementation of our club programs and student activities that we'd like to get kicked off going this coming year. One of the things that I thought can be very useful is to have outdoor chess tables at some of our schools. I mean, I'd love to put them at all of our schools. We'll see what type of budgets we have. But to perhaps have 3 to 4 of these tables outside of the schools, and then we could work with volunteers to man those tables at certain times over the weekends. So we'll have set hours, the community will know about it, that community people who want to just go out there and play chess or learn chess, or our students who want to go and learn chess and be out there or play chess against some of the community members, it would be great, and it would certainly help in bringing the community together around a particular interest, because you go out into the fields now or into the location or into the properties, and if someone's not playing basketball, then there's really nothing else going on. So I think this would be a welcome addition. The next thing is also, I spoke to the superintendent regarding bringing someone in to spearhead student clubs and activities. So maybe a director of student clubs and activities of sorts, because if we don't have someone who's spearheading that, who's championing that, that gets lost. And we talk about school spirit, we talk about yearbook sales, we talk about school pride. Kids have much more school pride when they have activities. We're asking the kids to engage, but we don't have much for them to engage in. And also, when it comes to the volunteerism in our district, we've had members of the public offer to volunteer. Actually, tonight, we've had a young lady there with her daughter offering her services as well. Right now, I don't believe that the district has the processes to really incorporate in their day-to-day activities volunteers and who to place them with, where they're needed, who's basically going to pair them with the different needs of the district.
Actually, I want to comment on that because I
Sure.
should have mentioned that to you. When we talked about that in the budget process, and one of the things we talked about is as we are recommending the addition of family liaisons, that perhaps some of those duties could be delegated there to save that position.
Okay. So we'll definitely talk about that and make sure. Because the thing is that, you know, we want to make sure that, that all these initiatives are effective and that they do what's intended. So I definitely would love to explore that and see some of the ideas that you have for that. So that concludes the president's report. And then now we could just go into committee reports. We have a long executive session, so we're just going to finish all of our business. Trustee Fearon?
No committee report from the audit committee, but we'll be meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Yes.
And I believe we have the state conducting their audit now as well, so we need to talk about that. Oh, that's it.
Next.
Yes, Trustee Jaros.
I didn't know which way you were going.
Yes,
That's why I
Trustee
said
Jaros,
that.
we'll just go to line.
Okay,
Wellness, you just had a meeting.
the Wellness Committee met this evening before the meeting at 5:30. And we were discussing the various teams that we want to write policy,